Oh, there was it's because he was on a fascinating journey, wasn't it? Because he kind of discovered that there was a life between lives. Like I find that whole concept fascinating. Feel free to talk about it a little bit, even though we've covered it before. There's
Yeah.
so many podcast episodes on here. People get lost anyway, you know.
Yeah.
But I'd love you to speak to that a little bit about how he discovered it, and then what your key fascinations of why were you attracted to then that work as well in particular.
Well, Michael was a traditional psychologist working around in California, around the Hollywood area, where he had his clinic for many years. And he was always driven by something that was behind the veil. There was something just out of reach that he couldn't quite get. And he told me about a time when he was about 15 years old, and he went to like a military high school, and he was in the chapel, and they're doing all of the religious type doctrine and all of that. And he was there, and he said, "This can't be it. There's got to be more to this than just this religious practice." And he was 15 at the time. As he moved through, and he was fueled by psychology, wanting to know more about the human mind, he was so inquisitive. He started his clinic, and then one day a guy came in with a psychosomatic pain. Um, I think most people know that a psychosomatic pain is one that presents physically in the body, but they can't find any particular physical reason for it when they do all of the different checks or tests or whatever they do. So there's a technique that we use as hypnotherapists, and he was a hypnotherapist as well. We go into that pain and we ask it to take back to its source. It's called an affect bridge. So he did this, and all of a sudden, this guy's writhing around on the bottom of a trench in World War One in the Battle of the Somme. So Michael thought this was all crap at this stage, of course, because he'd never seen anything like it. So he's asking this guy. This guy's writhing in pain, and he's saying, "Well, what battalion are you from? And who's your commanding officer? And tell me about the movements of troops in your region." So he's asking all of these questions. Anyway, so then he desensitized the pain and brought the guy back, and the pain was gone. But that was Michael's approach as a researcher. So then he wrote to the War Office in London, and he validated this guy's story from the British Army records, and it all ticked off, every piece of information that he got. So then he started to explore a little bit further. He got into the past lives, and then he had a lady who came in with depression. Again, he went into where's the source of this, and she flipped into the afterlife in the company of her soul group, and all of her friends were there, and her loneliness disappeared because she realised she'd incarnated without them for this time, so that she could understand more about, being alone. So that's when he discovered the in between. Over a period of 7,000 clients, 35 years, he perfected these approaches where we take somebody into their past lifetime, but then keep going beyond the concept of reincarnation back into the spiritual realm and understand why you've chosen this life, what your purpose for being here is, what are the patterns across the lineage of your soul, who are the people that you incarnate with regularly. So this whole methodology of life between lives started to emerge, and the Newton Institute was founded in 2002, 20 years ago now. And we've now spread to, 40 different countries, I think, at last count. 200 and something highly specialised people. We've just run a big training with some trainee therapists from China and Asia. So we're moving into different languages now. So my attraction to that work was I'd actually graduated as a hypnotherapist, and I went into Borders Bookshop, God rest its soul, and stood there in Borders and said, closed my eyes in front of the metaphysical book section, take me to the book I need today. So I stepped up to a bookshelf and I pulled this book off the shelf. It was Journey of Souls, Michael's first book. I read the back of it and something shifted inside of me. It's like something opened up. It's like one of those moments in life where something just arrives in your presence and you don't quite understand it. It felt a bit like an earth tremor, but I looked around the shop and no one else was having the same experience. So I thought this book must be special because I was looking for a book for a gift for somebody else, but realised that the book was really for me. So from there, read the book, read the next one, ended up in America, ended up working with Michael, and the rest of it is history.
Wow. Incredible. And what have you seen? Because and there's always a part of me, even after the experiences I've had, is like, wow, is that really wow, and I know no doubt people listening can certainly be skeptical that there's this other aspect to it. I mean, how real are the people's experiences that you've worked with that go and have this experience in between lives? Especially if how does it happen, and do people expand beyond themselves, different aspects of their consciousness? How would you describe it all, as well?
Well, maybe to give an example would be a good one, but also let me give some context first. A client comes in for one of these sessions that may go for something like 4 hours, and there's various preparation that's happened along the way, including most likely a past life regression, to make sure that we can get that person out of the current incarnation and access another. So then we'll take them through the Newton methodology as it's come to be known. We go back through some childhood experiences, back into pre-birth condition where we activate more of the what we've come to call the superconscious mind, Michael's term, that is beyond, this state of consciousness or even the subconscious. So we activate that superconscious mind. We go into a past life. We get to the end of that past life and we cross over. Now, every time the client goes through one of these particular aspects, their personality changes. Like you might have a woman who becomes a man in a past life and they'll speak with more male tones and mannerisms. When they go across into the afterlife and we have them there as the immortal presence that is them, that is beyond any human form, beyond any other incarnation as well, there is a depth and a wisdom to them that turns the tables on us, and we just follow them. They really guide and direct the session, and sometimes we become quite the passenger. And here's the example. I said to one lady, why didn't her name, I'll just give her a name of, say, Fiona. I'll say, why did you incarnate as Fiona? And this soul said to me, I'm a researcher, and I'm here to research the human condition. And I specialize in brain activity. So the best way for me to research was to incarnate and have a human brain. And I said, okay, thank you. And she says to me, do you have any questions? Because she's the researcher. She's got a lot of answers. And I said to her, well, can you tell me why we only use 15% of our brain or 20% of our brain? And she said, who told you that? And I said, well, that's some of the information that's come from our neuroscientists. I mean, this is all a bit old now. This is probably 15 years ago. We're more up to date now. But she says, well, that's just wrong. She says, you just haven't invented the equipment that can measure what the brain's actually doing. And, of course, there I was in the arrogance of the human condition, sort of saying that our science has got the answers when, of course, we don't. But interestingly, if you look at neural activity now, the way that it's measured, 15 years later, it's actually proved her to be correct because the brain is doing so much more. The HeartMath Institute are telling us that the brain receives messages from the heart. So there's so much more going on there. So she was completely right. But that's the presence that you have in these people when they're in their superconscious state, Guy. When they're in their soul, they have so much to offer.
Wow. And let's take Fiona, for instance. Would she then recall herself saying these things, or does she come out and the session's been recorded and you can say, oh, no, this is what happened? What generally happens there?
It's like anything with human memory, Guy. I can go to the supermarket in town and I can remember every aisle I went down and what I bought. But by the time I get home, I've forgotten some of that. And I'm just hoping I've got all the right groceries in my bag. So when they first come out of it, it's quite fresh, but then it starts to fade. They will remember the main points, but we always do a recording for them. I once had a client who used to listen to his recording of his session every year on the anniversary. And he used to ring me up or send me an email every year. He'd say, there's something on that recording this year that wasn't there last year. And it was just because he was given this information in a timeless way, and he was just ready to receive the next message that came. So, when we've got that superconscious recall, integrating it into human form is sometimes difficult. So that recording can be worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, beautiful.